One way of installing a new operating system on a computer is to use a USB memory stick. Now they come in all shapes and sizes. The USB stick needs to contain all the operating system files, and they come in one big file that's called an image file. So we have an image of the operating system on the USB stick. Now those files normally have the extension .iso. Not exclusively, they do have other extensions, but the most common one we find is .iso. Now, the USB stick also has to be made bootable. Now, there are quite a few different ways of doing that, and they are dependent upon the operating system that you are using to prepare your USB stick. However, I have a method that works on Windows, Mac and Linux operating systems, and it is so easy to use, it's a shame not to use it. And we're now going to pop over to the computer. Right, I have my browser open, type in Raspberry Pi. No, I haven't gone completely nuts. Not yet, not this week. We're searching for raspberrypi.com. Go to software, and this is the program we're interested in. Install Raspberry Pi OS using Raspberry Pi Imager. There's a download for Ubuntu, download for Windows and download for Mac OS. Now, download whichever flavour suits you. The Ubuntu flavour suits me because I'm running Linux Mint and it works on Linux Mint quite well. I've installed it, so we go to that. Accessories, image, and here we are. Let's go full screen. We have two options. Choose our OS. Now we're faced with all these. Go down to custom, and it's brought up a window with all my ISO files in there. Today I'm looking at Antics 22, 64-bit edition. I'm going to open that one. Next step is to choose a storage. Now you want a blank USB stick stuck in your computer, ready for programming. If you haven't got a blank one, it's going to overwrite whatever's on your USB stick, so now's your chance to save it before we go any further. Click. Generic mass storage, that's the one I want. And now we can write. All existing data on your generic mass storage will be erased. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes, I am. I have to put my password. And authenticate, and away we go. Now here we go, and it's doing it at the speed of light. Now we're going through the verification process. This is checking to make sure that the file that's now on the USB stick is the same as the original one that it copied from. Great, we can now remove it from the, you can now remove your SD card from the reader. Oh well, let's remove it. And hit continue. Job done, wasn't that easy? So let's try it out for real. For me, the object of what I'm doing is to try and find a modern operating system that worked reasonably well on a very old laptop and give it a little bit more life. I've got 4 operating systems, 2 of them are on USB sticks, the other 2 are on SD cards, and I'm running the SD card through a USB adapter, and that's because the whole thing is boot USB. not boot SD card. So we'll try it out and see what happens. And I'd like to add that what I'm doing is part of a future video about this laptop. Now, the procedure for loading the USB is to sort of plug the USB in, switch on, and we want to get into the boot menu, which is by pressing F12 on this Dell 1501. We continue to tap F12. Now we're entering the boot menu, and here we'll have several options. We'll boot from USB. Away we go. Now this is Antics Linux, and we're going to use the modern kernel. Normal boot. Broadly speaking, we're up and running, and now you've got the opportunity to run through and have a little look and see whether you like it and see what works and what doesn't work. Now the object of today's exercise is not to talk about Antics Linux, but to show you how easy it is to boot up from a USB. Let's log out of this one. Shut down. Now what I'm going to do is run through the same procedure, but this time we're going to use another system. Just as an example, I've put my USB in, I'm starting up, tapping F12. Right, we're into our boot menu, select USB using the up and down keys. This time we'll be running, looks like Raspberry Pi this time. We'll run with persistence, and at the speed of light this will load. Well, here we are with Raspberry Pi. I think it's should be up and running. Same old thing. You've got all your bits and pieces you can look at. Let's go to accessories. So you've even got Raspberry Pi imager on there. Office, LibreOffice, sound and video. Right, well, as you can see, up to you to play with these things if you really want to. Log out, shut down, let's try another one. Let's plug our USB stick in, switch on, tap F12 to get to the boot menu. Right. Use the up and down keys to get to USB. Tap and away we go. Right. Boot with open source drivers. We're now trying out Manjaro. Again, it loads at the speed of light. When when I talk about the speed of light, I mean it's still light outside, it hasn't turned dark yet. There's a good chance it might do. Oh, this one's a bit boring. Right, well that took a little longer than the other two, which is only understandable as this is a fully blown operating system and quite a popular one, and you can sort of run through its paces by opening up applications and having a look and seeing what you've got. There's all manner of things on here, so play with that to your heart's content. Now let's close this one down, and close this down a little differently from the others. In at the button on the right hand side, shut down. And we'll go and try another one. Here's another one. Start up the computer, tap F12 to get to the BIOS boot menu. Continue tapping it. The procedure is much the same, down to the USB, but using the key, press enter. And we go for the top one. And at the speed of light, it loads. As I said before, it's not dark outside yet. Well, there you have it. This is Linux Mint. We can play around with this, and when we finish playing around with it, we can install it if we want to. Before I close down, the object today was to demonstrate preparing a USB stick with an operating system, and I've demonstrated 4 of them here, up and sort of running. Now do bear in mind they are working on the USB stick and they're not installed on a computer. That gives you a chance to run your finger over the system, see whether you like it or not, or whether it's got any quirks. And that's exactly what I'm doing with this little Inspiron 1501. And that will be the subject of which one runs best in another video. And the object is to try and get a little bit more life out of it, because it's a shame to chuck away something that is basically still working, still fully functional, and it goes against my grain to sort of dump it, but it really is a piece of junk by today's standards. I hope that's been of interest to one or two of you. That's it from me today. I forgot to mention that if it doesn't boot, you may be plugged into a USB 3 port. If you look into the port, you will see that it's made of blue plastic. If it doesn't, if it is, then swap over to a USB 2 port, and that should solve that problem. You will only encounter that on more modern computers though. I've just noticed my battery's going down. Some of you out there may be saying, what about Rufus and Easy to Boot? Well, they are specific to Windows operating systems in creating your USB stick. And what I've tried to do is provide people with a cross-platform option that works on Windows, Mac and Linux systems. If you want to be specific about the operating system, I use Linux Mint, and all I have to do is right click on the ISO file and select the option that says make a bootable USB stick, and it really is that simple. But they all suffer the same problem. They won't boot from a USB 3 port, or they wouldn't last time I tried them all. If you got this far, I hope the video was of some use to you.